The universe was calm, too calm. Inside the Terran listening station Echo 9, a single operator named Reese Calder sat behind a glowing console. The room was silent except for the soft hum of machines. Outside the large observation window, millions of stars shined like cold silver dust. Normally, Echo 9 was a boring place, an assignment given to people who wanted peace, not action. Reese often joked that nothing exciting ever happened here. But that changed on one cold rotation. It all began with one sound, a broken whisper, a faint signal that should not have existed. At first, Reese thought it was static or a system error. He leaned forward, adjusting the headset resting around his neck. The screen flickered with strange symbols not found in any Terran database. Then he heard it clearly, a voice, weak, scared, trembling. Please, Terrans, help us, anyone please." Reese froze. The hairs on his arms stood up. This was not background noise. This was a desperate call from someone crying for life. Reese increased the volume. The voice repeated again, softer this time, as if the speaker was losing strength. "Terrans, please save us, we are dying." Reese stared at the signal's coordinates. It was coming from the outer fringe of known space, far beyond friendly borders. No Terran ships were out there, no colonies, no trade routes. Nothing but old star maps and unexplored darkness. "This shouldn't even be possible," Reese whispered. He quickly sent a priority alert through the system. Within minutes, alarms flashed red across Echo 9. Officers rushed in, commanders followed. The calm, quiet station became a storm of activity. Admiral Cade, a tall and serious-looking man with a stern jaw, entered the room. "What have you found, operator?" he demanded. Reese swallowed and replayed the recording. Voice echoed through the room again. "Terrans, please, we beg for aid, our world dying." Everyone fell silent. Even the machines seemed to pause. The Admiral folded his arms. "Can we identify the species?" Reese shook his head. "None of our systems can translate their full language. Only these broken parts were understandable." "And the source location?" Reese pointed to the star map. "Sector A74, dead zone, no life, no colonies, no jump gates." The Admiral stared at the map, deep in thought. A dead zone sending a cry for help, impossible, or the start of something dangerous. Another officer, a younger woman named Liara, leaned closer to the console. "Sir, what if it's a trap?" Many others in the room nodded. It was a reasonable fear. Enemies sometimes used fake distress calls to lure Terran ships into ambushes, but Admiral Cade was not convinced. "Play the last part again," he said. Reese obeyed. The voice sounded like it was fading, like someone crying while choking on smoke. "Save us, Terrans, children dying." That final line hit everyone in the room. Even Liara lowered her head. The Admiral took a slow breath. "No enemy would fake a child's cry," he said. "This message is real." Reese agreed. There was something human in that voice, not in species, but in emotion. Pain sounded the same across the stars. The Admiral turned to the officers. "Alert High Command. Prepare an expedition team. I want the Terran Marine Corps on standby. We may be heading into unknown territory." The room exploded into motion again. Reese leaned back in his chair, shaking slightly. He had never been part of something so important, but deep inside, a strange feeling grew, fear mixed with curiosity. Who were these aliens? Why were they calling humans specifically? What danger were they facing? He did not know. But the message replayed in his mind over and over. "Terrans, please help us." 12 hours later, Terran Fleet Command. The image of Admiral Cade appeared on a massive holoscreen inside the Terran Fleet War Room. Generals, scientists, and diplomats gathered around the long metal table. The signal played for them. Again, silence ruled the room. General Mara Kent, commander of the Terran Marines, tapped her fingers on the table. Her armor boots made a metallic sound when she stood. "Whoever sent this is desperate," she said. "Terran Marines are ready to move." A scientist stepped forward. "We tried analyzing the audio patterns. The voice is non-human, but the emotional signatures match extreme fear and exhaustion. Whoever they are, they're suffering." General Kent nodded. "Then we answer." The diplomats disagreed. "It could still be a trap," argued Ambassador Rion. "We have no diplomatic ties with any species in that region." "But if it's real," General Kent replied, "then ignoring this could mean allowing a whole species to die." Admiral Cade's voice joined the debate. "We will investigate, but we won't go blind. The Marines will go armed, prepared, and cautious." A unanimous decision was reached. The Terran Marines would respond to the call. Within minutes, orders traveled across the fleet, ships prepared, weapons checked. Armor polished, the mission was set. Aboard the Terran Marine ship Ironfall, Captain Elias Ward stood in the armory. He was a veteran Marine, calm, sharp, and respected by all. His soldiers trusted him with their lives. He slid a fresh magazine into his rifle and looked at his squad. Sergeant Hall, tall and strong, Corporal Reese, small but deadly accurate, Private Lorne, new but brave, and many others, each ready to step into hell. "Captain," Sergeant Hall said, tightening his gloves, "this mission feels strange. We don't know the enemy. We don't even know the planet." Captain Ward nodded. "That's why we stay alert. We expect anything." Reese sat on a crate and asked, "Sir, do you think the message was real?" Ward paused before answering. I heard fear in that voice, real fear, no machine can fake that. Lorne shivered. What if we're too late? Ward placed a firm hand on the young soldier's shoulder. Then we fight for whoever is left. Terrans never ignore a cry for help. The ship engines roared to life. The Ironfall began its jump across the stars. Captain Ward opened his comm link. All teams stand ready. We land in 20 minutes. The Marines lined up in formation, weapons loaded, armor locked, hearts steady. Even though none of them knew what waited ahead, their duty was clear. The voice, the cry had reached them, and Terran Marines always answered. Back at Echo 9, Reese watched the jump signature disappear on the radar. The Ironfall was gone, traveling faster than light toward the unknown. He whispered to himself, I hope we're doing the right thing. Then something terrifying happened. The signal they thought had ended came again, but this time it was worse. The voice was shaking, breaking, filled with terror. Terrans, please hurry, they are coming, they are here, we can't. A scream cut through the transmission. Then the sound of heavy footsteps, growling, something tearing metal apart. Reese's heart hammered in his chest. The last words in the message were almost a whisper. They found us, please save our children. Then silence, everything went dark. Reese stared at the empty screen, a cold fear gripped him. Whatever attacked the aliens was strong, fast, and destructive, and now the Terran Marines were heading straight into that nightmare. Reese quickly sent the updated recording to the Ironfall, but he knew they would receive it only after exiting the jump. He could only hope they were ready, because this was no longer a simple rescue mission. It was a race against time, a race against something violent, something monstrous, something capable of wiping out an entire species, and the only hope left in that part of the galaxy was a single Terran Marine squad stepping into the smoke. The Ironfall dropped out of faster-than-light travel with a violent tremble. Every window darkened as the ship entered a zone filled with thick dust clouds. Captain Ward stood on the command deck, staring at the hologram of the target planet. The world looked broken, almost wounded. Dark smoke rings surrounded the atmosphere, glowing cracks split across its surface like the planet itself was bleeding light. Sergeant Hall frowned. Sir, this place looks dead. Ward didn't answer at first, his eyes stayed locked on the planet. No, he finally said, something killed it. The Ironfall's scanners flickered static, distortion, interference. Reading life signs, but they are unstable, the AI reported. Large energy spikes across the northern hemisphere. Friendly, Hall asked. The AI hesitated. Unknown. That single word spread quiet fear through the entire bridge. The descent dropships prepared for launch. Rows of Marines sat strapped in, helmets down, rifles across their chests. No one spoke, only the sound of engines heating up filled the room. Private Lorne whispered to Ree, why would aliens call us, specifically humans? Ree kept her eyes forward. Maybe because we fight back. The dropship doors sealed shut. Captain Ward stepped in last. The moment he grabbed the ceiling handle, the dropship shook violently. Launch, the pilot yelled. The dropship shot downward, piercing the planet's atmosphere. Smoke and ash swirled around the windows. Lightning crackled through black clouds. Ward steadied himself. This place is a war zone. The ship passed through the final layer of smoke, and the Marines saw the planet's true horror. A planet torn apart, the ground was frozen in jagged formations like ice had exploded upward. Shattered crystal structures stabbed into the sky. Metallic ruins lay half buried under thick layers of blue frost. But the strangest part was the silence. No wind, no animals, no voices, only the distant rumble of something moving. The dropship touched down on a cracked landing pad. The moment the ramp opened, a blast of cold air hit the Marines like knives. Helmet filters on, Ward ordered. Stay close, weapons up. They moved as one unit, scanning every shadow. Repointed at the horizon. Sir, look. Far away, so far the shapes were blurred. A group of tall, thin towers stood in a circle. They looked artificial, like some kind of alien city, but pieces were missing, melted, or smashed. Sergeant Hall knelt near the ground. These marks, claw marks, something big dragged bodies this way. Lorne swallowed hard. This place, it feels haunted. Ward agreed. The planet didn't feel empty, it felt watched. The first sign of life, the Marines followed the claw marks toward a ruined structure. A glowing symbol flickered on a broken door, something like a spiral with wings. No one recognized it. Before Ward could give the order to breach, a tiny sound came from inside the building. A whimper, a child's whimper. Everyone froze, even the air felt heavier. Re-haul with me, Ward said, voice low. Rest of you cover the entrance. The three Marines moved slowly, rifles raised. Inside the building, dust floated like falling snow. Broken screens and alien tools lay scattered across the floor. Then they saw it, a small alien child hiding behind a shattered console. Its skin was pale blue, its eyes were wide with fear. It tried to speak, but only a weak chirping sound came out. Ree stepped forward, slowly removing her helmet. It's okay, we're here to help. But before the child could answer, the wall shook. Something huge had landed outside, something breathing loudly, something sniffing the air. Ward motioned quickly. Hide the child, lights off, stay silent. The Marines dragged the child behind a metal slab and crouched low. The building door cracked. A massive shadow passed across the entrance. A deep growling noise filled the room. Whatever stood outside was searching, hunting. Ree held her breath. Lorne silently prayed. Ward gripped his rifle so hard his knuckles turned white. The creature sniffed again. It growled and slowly moved away. They waited 30 more seconds before Ward gave the signal. Move, now. The underground refuge. The alien child tugged gently on Ree's armor, then pointed at a cracked stairway leading downwards. It wants us to follow, Ree whispered. With weapons ready, the Marines followed the child into the underground levels. The deeper they went, the warmer the air became. Strange lights flickered along the walls. Symbols carved into stone glowed faintly as they passed. Finally, they reached a large chamber, and there, huddled together, were 20 surviving aliens, thin, weak, terrified. One of them, older and wearing a glowing chest piece, stepped forward. He bowed his head. You came, he whispered in broken English. We called and Terrans answered. Ward lowered his weapon but stayed alert. My name is Captain Ward of the Terran Marines. We received your distress signal. Tell us what happened here. The old alien's eyes filled with pain. Our world broken by the Devourer brood, monsters from under the ice. Lorne stiffened. Those sounds earlier, that thing outside, was it one of them? The alien nodded. They came without warning. They eat everything. Cities, families, our spirits. He trembled. They took our homes. They took our sky. They took our children. Ree placed a hand on the alien child's shoulder. This one survived. The elder nodded weakly. Because we hid, but hiding will not last long. The brood hunts the last of us now. Ward looked around the cave. These survivors were not soldiers, not fighters, not built for war. They needed help, and they had asked humans because humans were the only beings known for fighting impossible battles. The elder stepped closer. We prayed to the stars, prayed for someone fierce, someone strong. He touched Ward's armored chest, and the stars sent you. Before Ward could reply, the ground shook violently. Dust rained from the ceiling. Screams filled the chamber. The elder's eyes widened in terror. They found us. The Marines sprang into position. Hall shouted, hostiles above, multiple fast. Ward raised his rifle. Everyone behind us. Marines, prepare for contact. The ceiling cracked. Screeches echoed from the tunnels. The first creature dropped through the dust, a towering beast of bone, claws, and glowing red eyes. The Devourer brood. Ward aimed down his rifle. Marines, he fired. Light them up. The battle for the alien survivors had begun. The battle in the underground refuge shook the entire chamber. Captain Ward fired controlled bursts, each shot lighting up the dust-filled air. The first Devourer creature fell, screeching as blue-black blood sprayed across the stone floor. Another creature crawled through the ceiling crack. This one was bigger, its claws scraping sparks from the rock. Hall, left flank, Ward shouted. Sergeant Hall launched a plasma grenade. The explosion blasted the creature back into the tunnel, leaving behind burning limbs. The civilians huddled together, crying softly. Some covered the alien children with their own bodies, but something was strange. Despite the terror, despite the chaos, none of the aliens tried to run. They were used to danger, too used. Ward realized this was not their first time watching people die. The thought made his chest tighten. The Marines formed a tight defensive wall as more footsteps echoed above. Private Lorne swallowed hard. Sir, how many of these things are there? The elder alien stepped forward, voice trembling. They do not stop, they do not rest. They smell fear, they smell life. Ree reloaded, jaw clenched, and they smell us. Ward nodded. We hold them here, we protect the civilians, no one gets past us. Suddenly everything went quiet. The tunnel above fell silent. Not even a breath. Hall slowly raised his rifle. Sir, why'd they stop? Ward didn't like the silence. Silence meant thinking, and monsters that think are the most dangerous kind. Ree's eyes moved to the crack in the ceiling. It's too quiet, like they're planning something. The elder alien whispered. The brood listens, they learn, they test weaknesses. Lorne felt cold sweat drip down his neck. Ward lowered his voice. Everyone steady, we don't know what comes next. His words were true because something was coming, something worse. The survivor's story. The elder alien limped closer, leaning on a carved metal staff. We owe you the truth, he said softly. You came because of our call. You deserve to know why we begged the Terrans, why we chose humans. Ward nodded but kept his rifle ready. We're listening. The elder took a deep breath. Our people, the Varan, were once peaceful. We lived under the sun, built cities of crystal and light. No fear, not until the ice cracked. He pointed upward toward the ceiling. The Devourer brood came from beneath the frozen oceans, not from the stars, from our own world. The Marines exchanged uneasy looks. The elder continued. They are not animals, they are not insects, they are something older, creatures made for one purpose. Lorne asked, what purpose? The elder's voice turned hollow. To consume. Every syllable felt heavy. They eat energy, heat, light. Metal, flesh, cities, atmospheres. The brood eats worlds. Ree whispered, they're planet killers. Hall glanced upward nervously. So how did your people survive? By hiding, the elder said. By digging deep, we built vaults, shelters, but each year we lost more land, more people, more hope. Ward's eyes narrowed. But why call for Terrans? The elder's answer came without hesitation. Because history told us humans do not run. He looked up, eyes desperate. "We watched your wars, your victories, your courage. You fight even when the universe tells you to die." Ward felt the weight of those words sink into his bones. "The call we sent, it was a prayer," the elder said, "a prayer that the strongest warriors in the galaxy would hear us." A prayer answered, but before Ward could respond, a scream ripped through the chamber. The child's vision, one of the alien children, the same one they rescued earlier, clutched its head and cried out. Its skin flickered like a glowing signal, almost like it was transmitting something. The elder rushed to it. "No, not the vision again." Ward stepped forward. "What's happening to it?" The elder placed a hand on the child's back. "This child is a seer, born with the ability to sense the brood." The child's voice trembled in a mix of its language and broken English. "They are coming, more than before, much more." Ree's face tightened. "How many?" The child looked up, eyes glowing faintly with fear. "All of them." The chamber fell into absolute silence. Then the ground shook hard enough to knock stones from the ceiling. Boom, boom, boom. Dozens of claws scraped outside the chamber walls. Hall shouted, "They're surrounding us." Ward acted immediately. "Marines, form a perimeter. Civilians behind the barriers." The child kept whispering in terror. "They know you are here, the humans, they want you." Ward's stomach dropped. Why specifically them? But he had no time to think, because the brood had made its move. The breach, the chamber walls began to crack. Dust exploded from the ceiling. A roar echoed from the tunnels, deep, thundering, hungry. The elder shouted, "They brought a prime." The Marines looked confused. Ree asked quickly, "What's a prime?" The elder trembled. "Their commander, stronger, smarter. It controls the others. We have never killed one." Hall cursed under his breath. "Great. That's exactly what we needed." A massive claw punched through the chamber wall, then a second, then a third, each claw big enough to crush a Marine helmet with ease. The civilians screamed, children cried, the chamber filled with falling debris. Ward raised his rifle. "Focus fire on the breach, do not let it enter fully." The Marines opened fire, but the creature didn't retreat. It pushed harder, stone shattered, metal bent. The wall split open and the brood prime stepped into the chamber. 10 feet tall, covered in obsidian armor plates, eyes burning like molten fire. Private Lorne whispered, terrified, "Oh God." Ward stood firm. This creature made everything they had fought so far look like toys. The prime roared, shaking every bone in the chamber. Ward inhaled sharply. "Marines," he aimed directly at the creature's heart. "We hold the line." The chamber erupted into war. The chamber shook as the brood prime stepped inside. Every footstep of the creature felt like a hammer smashing into the stone ground. Its body was covered in thick black armor plates. Its claws dripped with glowing blue acid that hissed when it touched the floor. Captain Ward steadied his breathing. This thing wasn't a simple monster. It was a living weapon made for killing entire civilizations. The prime raised its head and stared directly at the Marines, not at the civilians, not at the walls. "At them," Sergeant Hall whispered. "Sir, it's targeting us." Ward already knew. The creature let out a low growl, deep, rumbling, intelligent, not like the wild beasts they fought earlier. This one thought, planned, and commanded. Re-aimed her rifle. "It's reading us, waiting for the first move." Ward didn't like being studied. "Marines," he said slowly, "fire on my mark." The prime crouched, the ground cracked beneath its weight. "Mark." The Marines unleashed a storm of plasma fire. Blue bolts streaked across the chamber, hitting the prime directly. The air filled with smoke and sparks, but when the smoke cleared, the creature stood unharmed, not a single step back, not a single wound. Lorne felt his stomach twist. "Sir, our weapons, they're not doing anything." The prime roared and charged. Its movement was a blur, too fast for something so large. The Marines dove aside just as the creature's claw smashed into the floor, sending stone chunks flying. Hall rolled behind a collapsed pillar. "That thing hits like a tank," Ree yelled from behind a broken console. "We need to take out its armor plates." The prime swept its tail across the room. The spike-covered tail smashed through the barrier the civilians were hiding behind. The Varren screamed. Ward fired again, aiming for the creature's joints. This time, the plasma stuck, melting a small section of its armor. The prime snarled. It finally felt pain. Ward shouted, "Hit the soft spots where the plates don't cover." The Marines adapted immediately. Hall used a shoulder launcher, firing a micro-missile at the prime's left shoulder. It exploded, tearing off a chunk of armor. The prime roared in rage and leaped toward him. Ward reacted instantly. He sprinted, tackling Hall out of the way as the creature slammed into the ground where Hall had been standing. The impact left a deep crater. Ward helped Hall stand. "You owe me a drink," Hall coughed. "Yeah, if we live." The prime turned its burning red eyes toward Ward, recognizing him as the real threat. It charged again. But this time, Ree stepped between them. She slid on the ground, aiming upward, firing a plasma burst directly under the prime's chin. The creature staggered. Lorne fired a burst at its exposed neck. Blue blood splattered the floor. The elder alien watched from behind a rock, whispering, "You harm the prime, you weaken the brood's mind." Ward heard him. "Marines, focus on the neck, that's its weak point." The prime shrieked and swung its massive claw. The shockwave threw Lorne across the chamber. He crashed into the wall, helmet cracking. Lorne re-shouted. Ward fired at the creature's face, forcing it back. But the Prime wasn't retreating, it was calling. The ground trembled. Dozens of smaller devourer creatures crawled down the tunnels, answering the Prime's roar. They poured into the chamber like a wave of claws, teeth, and glowing eyes. Hall cursed loudly. "Are you kidding me?" More. Ward tightened his fists. This was no longer a fight, it was survival. "Marines," he yelled. "New plan." He pointed at the far tunnel. "We fall back to the lower chambers, narrow choke points. Move now." Re-lifted the injured Lorne with one arm and pulled him toward the tunnel. The civilians ran behind the Marines as the ground shook violently under the hundreds of devourer creatures flooding in. The Prime roared, a sound so powerful the lights flickered. Ward fired one last burst into its exposed neck and shouted, "Hall, grenade, seal the tunnel." Hall grinned. Already on it, he tossed a plasma grenade at the ceiling above the chamber entrance. It detonated. Collapsing tons of rock, dust and stone blocked the passage, slowing the Prime and its swarm, but not for long. Ward guided the civilians deeper. "Hurry, that wall won't hold." The elder alien limped beside him, clutching the seer child. "You fight like fire, like storms," the elder whispered. Ward didn't respond. He wasn't thinking about glory. He wasn't thinking about honor. He was thinking about time, how little they had, how close the Prime already was. The tunnels narrowed. The Marines formed a defensive line around the civilians. Behind them, something huge crashed into the rock barrier. Cracks spread across the stone. Hall whispered, "Sir, it's breaking through." Ward raised his rifle, face calm but eyes burning with determination. "Let it try." The Prime roared again, enraged. The wall shattered. The tunnels shook again as the brood Prime smashed through the collapsed wall. Captain Ward and the Marines formed a tight line in the narrow passage. Their helmets dimmed as dust clouded the air. Behind them, the alien survivors pressed against the tunnel wall, terrified but trusting the Marines to protect them. Hall wiped blood from his forehead. That wall slowed it down, but not enough. Ward lifted his rifle. "We aren't here to stop it forever. We're here to buy time." The Prime's burning red eyes appeared in the dust. It roared, shaking loose stones from the ceiling, but something strange happened. It didn't charge. It stared right at Captain Ward as if the creature recognized him. Re-whispered, "It's not looking at all of us, only you, sir." Ward didn't lower his weapon. The Prime tilted its head, almost curious. For a moment, the chamber felt colder, darker, heavier. The elder alien stepped forward, clutching his staff. "It understands leadership. It knows who commands your group. The brood always hunts the strongest first." Lorne, still bruised from earlier, muttered, "Great, so the giant death monster wants the captain." The Prime suddenly hissed, calling the swarm behind it, but the narrow tunnel slowed the creatures. Only a few could push through at a time. Ward seized the moment. Marines aimed for the Prime's weak spots, the neck and joints. The squad opened fire again, but the creature backed away. It was retreating. Hall blinked. Why is it running?" The elder's face fell. "It calls its army, and it knows we cannot stay here." Ward understood instantly. This was not a battle they could win in the tunnels. This was a trap. The Prime was driving them deeper toward something, toward the hive, and the Marines didn't have a choice. The civilians had to be moved, and the only passable tunnels led downward. Ward gave the order. "We're moving, stay alert. That thing wants us somewhere, and I want to know why." The descent into darkness, the tunnels sloped downward steeply. The air grew warmer, heavier, full of vibrating energy. Retouched the wall, it pulsed. "Sir, this tunnel feels alive," she whispered. Hall shone a light across the stone. Strange organic lines glowed beneath the surface like veins. "This isn't rock," he said. "This is hive growth." The elder nodded gravely. "The brood spreads their nest through the planet. They turn stone to flesh. Warmth feeds them." Lorne shuddered. "If the planet becomes the hive, what happens to everything else?" The elder closed his eyes. "It dies." Ward felt anger rising in him. These creatures were not just predators, they were devourers, a force that erased entire worlds. No wonder the Varan prayed to anyone who would listen. A vision from the seer child. The seer child suddenly froze. Its eyes glowed brighter, too bright. The elder grabbed it. "No, not another vision, not now." The child lifted a trembling hand and pointed deeper into the tunnels. Images flashed in its eyes, distorted reflections of the future. The Marines leaned closer, unsure if they should approach. The child spoke in a mixture of alien language and broken English. "Darker, deeper, many more. You walk into their heart, awake." Ward kneeled. "What do you see? Tell us." The child's voice cracked. "A queen, hungry, angry, looking for you, waiting for you." Ward frowned. "For us?" The child nodded slowly, re-whispered, "Sir, why would the queen of these monsters want humans specifically?" No one had an answer, but Ward felt something was wrong, very wrong. The child took Ward's hand with its tiny fingers. "Terran, brave but danger, very close." Then the child collapsed, exhausted. The elder lifted it gently. "Seer visions hurt their mind. We must move before the brood tracks us again." Ward agreed. But his mind kept replaying the child's warning. A queen waiting for him. Why? What did the brood know, and how? The discovery. After hours of slow descent, the Marines entered a massive cavern. Everyone stopped, even Ward. The cavern was enormous, big enough to hold a city. Crystal pillars rose from the floor like frozen storms. Glowing pools of blue liquid bubbled like boiling acid. Strange pods hung from the ceiling like giant eggs. and in the center a gigantic, pulsating structure, a living fortress, the outer hive. The elder bowed his head in fear. "We never came this close. This is where the brood begins." Hall whispered, "Oh hell, this place is alive." Ree pointed to the floor. "Sir, look." Half buried in the hive's roots was something metallic, Terran metal, a piece of human armor. Ward's eyes widened. "That's Terran Marine armor." Lorne stammered, "But how were the first Terrans here?" Ree pulled the metal piece from the hive roots. A name was scratched into it. Capt Marshal Hall stepped back. "I know that name. Captain Marshall vanished 6 years ago. His ship disappeared during a rescue mission." Ward clenched his jaw. "They didn't vanish, they were taken." The elder whispered, horrified. "The Queen learns from everything she consumes, every mind, every memory." Ward felt a chill crawl up his spine. That explained why the Prime looked at him like it knew him. Why the brood targeted humans. Why they called him by action. They had eaten Terrans before and learned. Ree looked at him. "Sir, what if the Queen knows our tactics, our weapons, our strategies?" Ward exhaled slowly. "Then this mission just became twice as hard." Behind them a distant roar echoed through the tunnels. The brood Prime coming again. The swarm was close, too close. Ward turned toward the civilians. "We can't go back, we must push forward." The elder nodded reluctantly. "There is a deeper chamber, a chamber of the Queen's spawn, but it is dangerous." "How dangerous?" Hall asked. The elder closed his eyes. "No one who enters returns." Ward stepped forward, rifle in hand. Then it's time someone returned. A wide tunnel stretched ahead, its walls glowing faintly with organic patterns like veins filled with liquid fire. The air was hot, humid, almost too thick to breathe. Acidic mist drifted along the ground in slow waves. Captain Ward raised his hand. "Helmet sealed, filters maxed, stay close." The Marines moved carefully, boots sticking slightly to the soft, living floor. Every step made a sickening squelch. Hall grimaced. "This place feels wrong, like we're inside something's stomach." Ree glanced at the walls. "We are." Even the civilians sensed the danger. The elder kept the seer child close, whispering protective chants from his culture. But suddenly the seer child stopped. Its eyes widened with fear. Ward crouched beside it. "What do you see?" The child pointed a shaking finger toward the darkness ahead. "She is awake." No one asked who. Everyone already knew. The Queen. The hive heart. The tunnel opened into a gigantic chamber, bigger than anything the Marines had imagined. Pillars of hardened resin spiraled toward a sky so high that the ceiling disappeared in darkness. Glowing pools illuminated the room in eerie blue light. Strange tendrils hung from above, slowly swaying like breathing lungs. In the center of the chamber was a throne made of bone and crystal, and upon it she waited, the brood queen. Her body was colossal, 4 times the size of the Prime. Her skin shimmered like obsidian armor, but every plate moved independently like scales adapting to danger. Her eyes glowed bright blue, intelligent and ancient. She did not roar, she did not hiss. She watched, silently, studying them. Just like the Prime had done. Ward raised his weapon cautiously. The Marines formed a defensive circle. Ree whispered, "She's beautiful in a terrible way." Hall muttered, "Yeah, beautiful like a black hole." The Queen lifted one arm, long claws glinting in the blue light, and she spoke, not in words, in a psychic pulse, a wave of cold thought that stabbed into every mind in the room. "Terrans, you came again." Ward staggered, his head pounding again. The Queen's voice echoed inside their skulls. "Your kind is brave, foolish, delicious." Lorne clutched his helmet, shaking. "Sir, she's in our heads." Ward gritted his teeth. "Block her out. Focus on your HUD displays." But the Queen kept speaking, calm and terrifying. "Your warriors fought well years ago. They fed the brood. They taught us." Ward's heart dropped as he remembered the armor piece they found earlier. Ree stepped back, horrified. "She ate Captain Marshall's team." The Queen's eyes widened slightly. "I consumed their strength, their memories, their strategies." Hall cursed loudly. "She knows everything we can do." The Queen slowly stood from her throne, and the entire hive trembled. "Terrans, you taste like courage. That is why we hunt you." Ward gripped his rifle tightly. "We're not food, and we don't run." The Queen lowered her massive head slightly, as if smiling, then "Die well." The swarm returns. The chamber walls cracked open. Hundreds, maybe thousands of brood creatures spilled out. Their glowing eyes filled the darkness like a sea of red stars. Ward knew they couldn't win in a direct fight. Not here, not like this. They needed a plan. "Marines," he shouted, "form a barrier around the civilians. Fall back toward the crystal pools." Rechecked her ammo. "We're running low, sir." Hall slammed a new battery into his rifle. "I've got one launcher shot left." Lorne steadied himself. "Captain, how do we defeat something that knows everything we do?" Ward's eyes narrowed. "By doing something no human has ever done." Before he could explain, the Queen gestured. The swarm charged. The ground shook. The walls cracked. The air turned into a cyclone of claws and teeth. Ward fired the first shot. "Marines, hold the line." Plasma bolts exploded across the chamber. The aliens screeched and fell. But more climbed over their bodies. Dual fired, protecting the civilians. Hall used his last launcher shot, blasting a cluster of swarm creatures apart. But the Queen was watching, always learning. She moved slowly, not rushing, like a ruler walking through her court, confident no one could harm her. The seer child tugged on Ward's armor desperately. "Terran, listen." The Queen's weakness. The elder leaned in. "Speak, child, what do you see?" The child pointed at the ceiling. The ceiling above her throne is soft. Ward looked up. There, directly above the queen's massive throne, was a cluster of giant glowing pods, heavy, unstable. If they fell, they could crush her. Ward's mind raced. We need to bring those pods down." Ree frowned. "With what? We're nearly out of explosives." Ward stepped closer to the queen, staring directly at her glowing eyes. A dangerous idea sparked in his brain. One the queen wouldn't expect. He lifted his rifle. "Then we use the queen's own weapon." He fired directly at her, not to kill her but to make her angry. The queen roared, shaking the entire chamber. Her energy surged. Her claws glowed with violent power. Ward shouted, "Everyone get down." The queen unleashed a massive psychic blast and the ceiling above her throne cracked. Thin lines spread across the glowing pods. One pod broke, then another. Blue acid rained down like burning stars. The queen looked up too late. Ward yelled, "Now, all fire on the ceiling." The Marines fired everything they had left at the weakened ceiling. The entire chamber lit up. A thunderous crack echoed. The ceiling collapsed. The pods fell. The queen roared, and the entire hive shook violently as massive crystal pods smashed down onto her throne. A shockwave blasted across the room. Dust and light swallowed everything. The ground split. Then silence. The dust took a long time to settle. For several seconds there was no sound inside the hive, no movement, no breath, just darkness. Captain Ward lay on the ground, coughing as debris slid off his armor. His helmet flickered with damaged signals. He forced himself to stand. "Marines, report." His voice echoed through the broken chamber. Hall groaned somewhere in the dust. "I'm alive, probably." Ree pushed herself up from behind a shattered pillar, still breathing. Ward turned. Lorne sat against the wall, blood on his helmet but smiling weakly. You did it, Captain." Ward wasn't sure. He looked toward the center of the chamber. The queen's throne was crushed under massive glowing pods. Blue acid hissed and burned through the hive floor. No movement, no roar, no eyes glowing in the dark. The queen was silent. The hive itself felt dead. Ward wasn't celebrating yet. He limped forward, raising his rifle in case she moved. Ree shouted, "Sir, careful!" But Ward didn't stop. He reached the edge of the broken throne, and then something massive twitched. A claw, black and cracked. The queen was trapped, crushed under thousands of tons of debris, but still alive. Barely, her eyes flickered open, weak, dim, not the burning blue embers of before. She looked at Ward not with hunger, but with confusion and fear. For the first time, the queen felt fear. Ward lowered his rifle slowly. She could no longer fight. No longer command. The hive was collapsing around her. She hissed softly, not a roar, not a battle cry, a dying whisper, a final message. "Terran, this world was ours." Ward stared back calmly, "and now it lives again." The queen tried to lift her head, but the pods held her down. Her glow faded. "Your kind will not survive us forever." Ward stepped closer, voice steady. "We don't have to survive forever, we just survive today." The queen's lights went out. Hive fell silent. Forever. The collapse, the ground cracked violently beneath Ward's feet. The entire chamber began to crumble. Ree screamed, "Captain, we have to get out." The Marines ran back to the civilians as the hive walls started melting like hot wax. The elder alien shouted orders in his language, guiding his people through falling debris. Hall yelled, "Sir, the tunnels are breaking apart." Ward lifted the seer child and placed it in Ree's arms. "Run, move fast." A massive chunk of the ceiling crashed behind them. Blue acid flooded into the lower tunnels. The hive was dying, but the Marines were faster and louder. Hall laughed breathlessly while firing at falling debris. "Captain, I swear the universe hates us." Ward shouted back, "Good, that means we're still alive." Piece by piece, the hive collapsed around them, but they pushed forward. The elder led them to a narrow escape shaft carved generations ago, too small for the brood to enter, but large enough for the Marines and civilians to slip through. They crawled, climbed, pushed, and fell upward through the dying tunnels. Behind them, the hive roared like a collapsing volcano. Ree carried Lorne when he stumbled. Hall held the elder when he slipped. Ward carried 2 alien children in his arms. Every Marine did what humans do best. They refused to fall. The surface, after what felt like hours, a burst of cold air hit Ward's helmet. Light, real light. The Marines crawled out onto the snowy surface just as the ground behind them caved in. Smoke and blue flames erupted into the sky, marking the death of the hive. The aliens collapsed on the ground, crying in relief. The elder stared at the rising sun. "Our world, our sky, we see it again." Ree smiled softly. "It's beautiful." Ward contacted the Ironfall. "Ironfall, this is Captain Ward. Mission complete. Survivors secured. Hive destroyed. Need immediate extraction." The reply was filled with emotion. "Copy that, Captain. We see the explosion from orbit. Evac on the way." The Marines finally let themselves breathe. The moment of respect, the elder alien approached Ward, leaning on his staff. "You saved us, not just our lives, but our future." Ward shook his head. "We just answered your call." The elder bowed deeply. "No, you did more. You entered the darkness we feared. You fought a queen that hunted worlds, and you lived." Ward placed a hand on the elder's shoulder. "We're Terrans. We don't run when someone needs help." The seer child stepped forward, holding Ward's hand. "You fought like light." Ward smiled. "You'll have your sunrise now. Protect it." The final extraction Terran dropships descended from the sky, engines roaring. Snow swirled around them as they landed. The Marines escorted the survivors aboard. Hall leaned back in his seat, exhausted. "Captain, remind me never to visit an ice planet again." Ree laughed tiredly. "Agreed." Lorne added, "But we did it right." Ward looked out of the window. The smoke still rose from the destroyed hive. "We did more than survive," he said. "We saved a world." The Elder smiled softly, "And the galaxy will remember the Terrans who came from smoke and carried hope." The dropship rose into the air. The planet below shimmered as the sun climbed higher. A new dawn, a free dawn. Because humans answered the desperate call,